Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax. Hope it's not too echoey in here. I'm just realizing that now. But today we are talking about the quiet confidence and how that is really the most powerful tool that we humans possess in sort of making an impression or impressing people or drawing people to our personalities. And it is that quiet confidence that you hear time and time again that draws people to each other. I recently watched this thing, and you might have as well, but it was going around social media, and it was one of the friends of Marilyn Monroe, and she was talking about walking down a New York street with Marilyn, and at one point the friend was sort of asking Marilyn, like, what's going on? Like, you're Marilyn Monroe and we're walking down a street and nobody's, and Marilyn turned to the woman and said, "Oh, do you want to see her?" And within like 20 seconds, she had like turned something on, walked a different way, exuded a different kind of energy, certainly a lot of confidence. And the woman telling the story says, like, within 20 seconds we were just surrounded by people who were like, "Oh my gosh, it's Marilyn Monroe." And that story has been repeated by several different people who knew Marilyn. And you hear it about like Frank Sinatra, Lady Diana. You hear it about a lot of people who sort of have this very popular opinion, very high opinion, their approval rating, if they were a government, would be in the high 90s. These people that just sort of exude confidence, kindness, compassion, and it really comes down to this like confidence. They are really self-assured, and I think in terms of Marilyn Monroe, she was very much sort of playing this character, but she played it so well and had this like confidence that just exuded self-assuredness. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because so many people are trying to like find their personality, find out who they are. I think we all look at ourselves and we're all just trying to figure out, like, where do I fit in? What is my aesthetic? How does the way I speak make people think of me? How does the way I dress make people think of me? The different hobbies and the things I hold dear to myself, my political opinions, my protesting opinions. So much of this comes down to people trying to create an image of themselves. And I think a lot of that just creates more insecurity. The more you try and reach for a personality, reach for the kind of way that you're going to interact with the world, the less genuine and the less authentic it truly is. And it's one of those things where you try and grab it and it's like a sword. You're grabbing it by the sharp end, and the harder you grip, the more damage you're doing to yourself. And so I think in many ways it takes this like very careful, thoughtful consideration, but on the other hand, it also takes being just genuinely and authentically you. And I think it comes down to realizing that you are the authentic self, and you really don't need to try as hard. I think a lot of us try way too hard to give off this like charismatic bad boy energy, or we try and give off this wholesome granola Hosier kind of vibe. And it never seems to stick, it never seems to stay, and people never really truly associate you the way that you want. People will be like, "Oh yeah, he's like a poser, like he's trying too hard." Whereas if you just go out and you live authentically who you are, and you like the things you like, you wear what you like, you speak your mind and how you feel, you get this air of being who you are. There's really no fakeness about you. A lot of people say, "Oh, this person, they're so fake, and I just can't deal with them, and oh my gosh, they're trying so hard to be this person that they're not." Don't try, just do. Just be who you are. If you are someone who loves Star Wars and goes to Comic-Con and loves that kind of thing, just authentically be that. I think a lot of us, especially in the whole social media world, are so fastidiously trying to be this cool boy or cool girl, hip, you know, like everyone is trying to emulate Noah Beck and, you know, these like it boys and it girls. Whereas if you're just authentically who you are, and if you authentically like something, like you see Charlie D'Amelio dancing or something and you're like, oh, I really like what she's wearing, and you get it and you love it, awesome. That is not being a clone. That is not copying somebody or trying to be somebody. That is you authentically enjoy something that someone does, and it is fine to incorporate that into who you are. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to take up archery or, you know, whatever, because you authentically like it, awesome. But, you know, if you're trying to fulfill some like personality trait or something, then I don't know, maybe check it and see if you like it. And if you authentically like it, then keep it. If it's not for you, you're just like, that's fine, whatever. But yeah, so much of what we do is this like insecurity, which I talked about in the last video. And it's kind of got me more thinking about this whole like, this concept of just like, I want to be this, I really want to be this, and I'm going to overcompensate and do everything I can to fulfill this thing that I'm not. And it never comes across as genuine. It never comes across as real or realistic or believable. You know, I think it's weird because it's so much easier just to like the things you like and express that and, you know, be honest with people, be open with people. And yet we just have this thing in our head that's like, no, I can't do that. You know, I don't want to be rejected for who I really am. And maybe that's part of it, is we build up this facade of who we want to be. And when someone tears that down, we're like, oh, that's fine, because that's not who I really am. But the idea of like being authentically who you are, and then somebody coming for you and being like, you're awful, you have horrible style, I don't like the way you look, I don't like the way you dress. That's really scary, because it's like, that's who we fundamentally are deep down. And we're not going to change that, you know? So I think that quiet self-confidence of just realizing like, no, I am who I am. I like who I am. I'm making improvements. I'm making changes. I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to XYZ, whatever you're trying to do, you're trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all progress. We're all movement. We're all in motion. Nobody's just the static whatever. So just be that and realize that you are changing. You don't have to change overnight, because that doesn't stick, that doesn't stay, that's not meaningful. And you don't require some missing piece or some product. So much of the marketing in our world is about like, buy this thing and you will become who you're supposed to be, or you will fit in, you will belong. And it's so not true. It is just, they're trying to get the money. They're trying to chase that goal, and they're really good at it. They pay psychologists, they pay all of these developmental people to sort of figure out how your brain works based on the color and the text and the fuzzy little animal trying to sell you, I don't know, a watch or something, like whatever it is. So you don't need anything more to be authentically you and to have that confidence. It takes time. I mean, it takes like this like slow build of, you know, hyping yourself up. How many times a day does your little voice in your head go, ugh, if only you were like thinner, if only you were better, if only your teeth were nicer, if only you were, you know, how many times does it say that? But how many times does it try and build you up and go, you know what? You're doing good. You are enough. You are working hard. You are improving every day. And I don't think that voice inside our heads is particularly positive most of the time. I think it's a negative, like mean, nasty voice that is just not the vibe. It's just not the vibe. And, you know, you shouldn't live your life by that negative voice. And you shouldn't live your life for someone else telling you that you need to do this or you need to do that. If you want to, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you no, but also don't let anybody tell you that you have to do anything. Because, you know, I always find that when I meet people who are authentically themselves, I am so attracted to them. Whoever they are, if they know even slightly who they are and they have a really good image of it, that is so attractive in friends, in family, in partners. It is so refreshing and nice to meet somebody who knows their limits, who, you know, I'll go out with them or something. I'll be like, oh, you should take a drink. And they'll be like, oh, sorry, no, I don't drink. Or, you know, they don't fall to this like basic peer pressure. They're just like, no, like I'm having such a good time, I don't need it. And it's like, wow, authentically who you are. I really appreciate that. And people who have the authentic style, you know, sometimes these people are labeled as weirdos. I went to high school with a bunch of people that were called weirdos. I found them really refreshing. I found them really nice to talk to and incredibly interesting because they had a really clear image of who they were, who they wanted to be, and where they were going. And honestly, those people, the weirdos in high school who were who they wanted to be, are the most successful out of all these people. A lot of these like pretty boy, popular girl kind of people are not what you would consider successful in today's society. And I'm using a very wide range of success. These people are not. And, you know, I hope they're happy and I hope they enjoy their life because that's really all that matters. But it is the people who have that quiet confidence, that just like the laid back person in the room who just feels comfortable with themselves. You know, you can see it. You really can see that kind of energy, and it's palpable. And I think it's what Marilyn Monroe's friend pointed out in Marilyn, and just this idea of becoming this character, this like energy, you know, and humans can pick up on that stuff. I don't think Marilyn's particularly like the best example. Like I said, she was probably playing a role, but I bet you have several people in your life that you can look at and go, man, super confident. My grandfather's a really good example of this. My grandfather was so self-assured. And I think older men tend to like, you know, older people in general tend to like figure this stuff out. Like everyone figures it out, but some people figure it out at like 20 and some people figure it out at like 80. And I think hanging out with older people is always really cool because all four of my grandparents are very self-assured and they know who they are. They don't tolerate things that, you know, they don't like beat around the bush, and they don't like just live on niceties. They're just like, oh, I don't like that you're doing that, so stop. And it's super easy. And you never have to guess what they think of you. You never have to wonder like, oh, what should I do? And they're also super easy to shop for, like super easy. Like buying gifts for my grandparents, so easy. Each of them has very distinct personality, and I'm like, oh, they'd love this or they'd hate this. And I've never been wrong. So take that what you will. But maybe it's just the people who don't know themselves, hard to shop for. That's my little thesis. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I hope you took something away from this video, even if it was just like mindless ranting, or it made you think of like some little part of you that, you know, maybe you're hiding or you're pushing down. Just let it out. Just be who you are, unapologetically, authentically, and I think you will be much happier for it. I don't think anyone ever regrets being authentically who they are. I think we regret saying dumb things to people sometimes. Like, oh, I wish I didn't say that, or I wish I didn't do that. But when you are truly authentically who you are, I don't think you really regret much. You know, when I'm being Jax, when I'm being who I am and doing it thoughtfully and compassionately and authentically, I don't think I've ever regretted something I've said or something I've done, because why would you? You know, if I would start to regret it, I'd be like, well, no, this is who I am. You know, I'm not sorry for being who I am. And so it just leads to a good life like that. So there you go. Like I said, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's just a rainy day today, so dogs are inside. I'm hanging out. It's beautiful still, you know. Anyway, that's it. Sorry. I'm like, how do I end this? I'd end it like this. Thank you for listening. I hope you've had a beautiful day, week, month, year, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.